I want to talk to you guys today about something that I think is an article of clothing that, if worn correctly, can totally transform your style. The polo shirt. Now, I know that that sounds weird because there are few things as like boring dad-like as a polo shirt, but let's roll this intro and then hear me out. All right, so as you guys know, as I'm making the transition from working for somebody specifically in the menswear industry to doing my own thing, my styles had to evolve, and it's become a very deliberate thing on my part. And I've enjoyed this process, and I've definitely enjoyed sharing it with you guys. And one of the things you've seen me wear a lot lately is a long sleeve polo shirt. Now that's very much on purpose. That isn't something that I just, oh, I've got some polos in the back of my closet, let's see if I can make these work. No. I have very intentionally sought out not just a long sleeve polo, but a very specific type of long sleeve polo. And let me give you some background on that. As I've recommended you guys before, one of the best ways that you can improve your style is to pay attention to other men who are wearing things that you would like to try to pull off. And the very sartorial corner of the menswear tribe, especially what you see on Instagram, has seen a huge influx of polo shirts with sport coats or with full-on suits over the last few months. And it's a look that I have really gravitated towards. Let me give you some examples. Now what you'll notice about this is that some of these guys are wearing them with full-on suits, some of them are wearing with odd jacket and trouser pairings, some of them are wearing them with just a pair of trousers, but none of these guys are really wearing them in a way that looks frumpy, that looks just like it's, I don't know, something that you happen to pick up because Old Navy was having a sale. These look very, very intentional. And I love that because it's such an innovative way to take something that most people would completely override and incorporate it into your wardrobe in a way to tell a story that's worth listening to, it's worth paying attention to. As I was following these guys, as I was seeing these pop up more and more, I really wanted to try this out myself. And so I did a little bit with some of my like $9 H&M polos, but it just didn't work. So I did some research. I tried to find some brands who were executing on this really well, especially because as I was paying more and more attention to these photos, I realized that the most common thread amongst all these guys is that they're long sleeved. And not only long sleeved, but they have a barrel cuff or a cuff with a placket, kind of like you would see on a dress shirt or a traditional button-up shirt, as opposed to just like something that looks like a long sleeve t-shirt. So it has a button not only on the cuff, but a button on the placket as well. There are very few brands who are making these, and even fewer brands who are making these and not charging a huge premium on them. The one that gets the most praise are those that are made by Simon Crompton from Permanent Style, and yes, they look incredible, and yes, they're pretty dang expensive. I would imagine that they're worth it, but for a lot of guys, getting above 150 bucks for a polo shirt can be kind of a stretch. So as I was doing my own research, as I was doing my own homework, trying to figure out what would be a good way for me to execute on this style, I stumbled upon a thread on Reddit, Male Fashion Advice, in which the poster pulls up a bunch of photos that I believe he put together, incorporating this in a ton of different looks. Yes, there are a lot of similarities. There's not a lot of huge variation in these, but every single one of these looks was really strong. And the thing that I liked about it the most was that he had found a brand that made these for a good price. Now, don't get me wrong, they're not dirt cheap. If you want the quality stuff, you're going to have to pay a little bit more, but compared to 150, 250 bucks, 85 bucks for a long sleeve polo is a pretty good deal, especially because they're great shirts. So the company that he was using was called Kent Wang. I reached out to these guys, I asked if they were interested in my doing a video to review them and basically just kind of incorporate them into my own style and send them some love. They agreed. They ended up sending me 3 long sleeve and 1 short sleeve polo, and I have absolutely loved these things. These have become a solid mainstay in my wardrobe, and I wear these way more than anything else that I have, or at least I have for the last 2 months. They've been awesome shirts. In fact, I've put together a little bit of an edit for you to check out some of the ways in which I've been wearing these, so go check this out. So here are the things, if you decide that this is a style that you want to adopt, I think you need to look for, and Kent Wang executes on all of these really well. Number one, you have to find a long sleeve polo that buttons up like a traditional button-up shirt on the cuffs. The reason for that is because you're dressing down your formal looks, or you're dressing up your casual looks. You're using this polo as a transition piece to bring formal stuff down and casual stuff up. If the shirt itself is too casual, then the separation between the formal clothing of your suiting and the shirt itself is too far and there's a mismatch. Or if the shirt is too casual and everything else is too casual, then it doesn't elevate it, it doesn't bring it up. And so you need to be able to have it be kind of right there in the middle of the spectrum between formal and casual. And a traditional buttoning placket is the first way to do that. The second way to do that is it has to have a good collar. Now that can be a button-up collar, that can be a semi-spread, that can be any variation of spread, but the collar needs to be able to stand up relatively well against the shirt itself. Now, you will notice in that edit, my collar wasn't always perfect, and I personally choose to embrace that because my archetype is primarily refined, yes, but I have a really strong element of rakish within me, and I choose to embrace a lot of those little imperfections. That may drive you or some other guys crazy, but I like it because it looks lived in. It looks like my clothing is serving me, rather than me serving at the behest of my clothing. And then the third variable is that the quality of the construction and the materials that are used have to be there. I love these because they've got really good stretch to them. You can feel the thickness and the quality of the cloth, and then even the quality of the buttons. The way that they're durable, the way that they stand out, they are not cheap, chintzy plastic buttons. And so it subtly, but still effectively elevates the style and signals the quality of what they are. So by doing those three things, a Kent Wang polo or one from somebody else is going to be able to ride that line of formality and casualness well enough that you'll be able to use it as a more versatile piece. Now, the one thing that I will say is a limitation with these Kent Wang polos is that because of the thickness of both the cloth and its weave is that they run hot. Now, for me, that becomes even more of a situation because I'm typically layering them up, whether that's under a field jacket or with sport coats or under a full suit. By layering them up over something that is already pretty hot, it's going to be a little miserable in warmer climates or in warmer times of the year. In fact, I wore these a lot when I was in LA last month, and even then it was only in like the 80s, maybe low 90s a day or two, and they got uncomfortable on those really hot days, even when I was not wearing them under a jacket. So if you live in a hotter environment, especially a humidly hot environment, this particular polo may not be the best version for you. Maybe you can find one that's a lighter weight or something that breathes a little bit better. Maybe you go for something that's very similar, but it's a popover instead of a polo and it's in linen. That could be a great alternative. If you live in a moderate climate like I do, and you have 3 months out of the year that you can wear these comfortably, they are great shirts, and I will continue to find ways to experiment with this. You're going to see these a lot more on the channel. So I have a link for you guys down below. If you're interested in checking out these shirts, do it. I've loved them. The company's great to work with. The quality of the shirts is great. I've had no complaints whatsoever. They've been awesome. So if you're interested in picking one or two or a couple of them up, do that. I want to hear from you guys what you think about the idea of revolutionizing your style with a polo shirt. Is that something that you've ever thought of doing? Are you like me and you've seen other guys on Instagram or on other channels or other places doing it and you've thought about trying to execute on this? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will talk to you guys on the next video.